Hello, and welcome to the Wyoming NORML podcast. This is Meet the Candidates interview series, and I'm your host, Annette Smith. Today, we have the privilege of sitting down with Wyoming's legislative candidates who are running for in our 2026 general election campaign, November 3rd. Today's candidate brings her extensive background in various relevant experiences and fields to this campaign, and we will be discussing cannabis policy, opinions, and views during our time together here this evening. My guest is Carrie Satterwhite, Libertarian running for House District 50. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, welcome. So, Carrie, can you tell us a little bit more about your background?
Well, I'm the executive director of Wyoming NORML at the present time. I'm a CASA volunteer. I work with children in the courts. I'm a foster grandma at the elementary school, so I have about 400 foster grandchildren. Done all sorts of things.
Wow, that's impressive. That's so amazing. So you're super involved in the community and obviously looking out for the residents of Wyoming, it sounds
Right.
like. Right. Well, today we are going to be talking about cannabis policy and your opinions and your views on that. And we can go ahead and get started with the first question. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. So the first question I have for you is, would you support a conservative medical cannabis law?
Well, certainly I would. I was an opiate patient for 12 years, and I can tell you that I get much better relief using cannabis than I did any of the opiates that they ever threw at me. No one's ever died from cannabis use, but you can kill yourself with 13 aspirins. So I truly believe in it as a medicine.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And for those who don't know what a conservative medical cannabis law is, it's a law that typically includes stringent regulations and restrictions designed to ensure legitimate medical use while minimizing potential abuse or unintended consequences.
Right.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with our next question. Would you support decriminalizing the adult personal possession, use, and cultivation of cannabis?
Yes, I definitely would. Um, Last year, about $250 million in sales tax went to Montana from out of state residents. And they're talking about doing away with property taxes here, but nobody has a real solution of how we'll do that other than taxing us in other places. And I'm saying if we're going to let people go out and drink alcohol and the federal government has rescheduled cannabis, there's no reason for us not to keep all that money in our state and use that for property taxes. Then we'd have a viable way of doing away with property tax. And then we would probably, I would venture to guess that we'd have quite a bit more money left over for other things as well. That would cover all of our governmental, police, fire, that sort of thing. So yes, I'm definitely in favor of that.
That's
Uh, for
wonderful.
for I would say responsible use.
Responsible use. Can you discuss what responsible use entails?
Well, you set up your laws. You can't drive, and all the things just like alcohol. You don't want to get a DUI. You want to use it responsibly. You don't want to be using it at work or whatever, but in your recreational time. That's why they call it recreational cannabis. Uh, it, Instead of, maybe you're not a drinker, maybe you would prefer to use cannabis to relax your mind. And uh, I think that if, as long as you're following the rules, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining that. There is quite a bit of a difference between medical use and recreational in that
Yes.
aspect. But again, it's like you were saying, just being responsible with it and responsible with choices and treating it with respect.
Well, and I think I'm a good example of that because I'm very active in the community. I'm also part of a board um, that serves Ugandan women. Uh, And I'm a responsible adult, and if I choose to use cannabis as something to relax my mind, because it does quiet my mind and make it easier, because my mind never stops working. And I'm quite an overthinker. So when I use cannabis, it helps me calm down and slow my thinking where I can be relaxed. But I am a responsible adult in the community, and I do quite a bit out there, work with special ed children. So I think that many people are very responsible that should be able to use it. Yeah,
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And making that decision for themselves.
right.
Right. All right. Do you have anything else to add from that question? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next, to the third.
No, I just want to add that on the medical side of it, the Wyoming Constitution does say that we should be able to pick our own medical path. So if we choose to use cannabis as our medicine, that we should be able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for adding that piece there. That's a very important piece of information
Right.
for those viewers watching and for Wyoming residents. All
Yeah.
right, we will move on to the third question. Do you support expunging or sealing past criminal records for people convicted of conduct that is no longer illegal or has since been decriminalized?
Yes, I definitely do. It costs us about $40,000 a year to house someone in the prison, which is very costly. But once you get that felony, you cannot get that off your record.
Mhm.
And cannabis has such a stigma to it that people don't want to hire you. They just think you're a lazy loafer who lays around and just a pothead, as they call them. And many people are hard workers that use cannabis. So they shouldn't be having that held against them. Also, in many of the counties, they don't have a contraband or a paraphernalia law. So if you get caught with an empty pipe, they weigh the pipe out, and that's how much cannabis you have. Whether you have actual cannabis on you doesn't really matter. You're convicted of a felony right there. And it seemed after 3 of those, it's an automatic, you're going to prison for 5 years.
Mm.
And that doesn't seem right to me, uh, that we should be putting people in prison for a plant that never killed anyone,
Mm.
but yet, say, a drunk driver gets many chances. And uh, they don't go automatically to prison after 3 times. So I think we're busy throwing felonies at people with cannabis out of fear, and people should really educate themselves and find out about cannabis. And we shouldn't be having them on their record.
Thank you. Thank you for adding in that piece of those bits and pieces of information. Those are very vital to know, especially the fact that the paraphernalia even being weighed in that piece of it actually being into to how much they would actually consider for a cannabis
Right.
weight. So that is very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have anything else to add on that for the third question or?
Well, I just think that they really do hold that. If you're a CDL driver, for instance, and you have a cannabis conviction just for, say, an empty pipe, you're never going to get a job.
Mm.
And so we're holding them back where people need workers. And so we're not only are they convicted and they do their punishment, they're going to be punished the rest of their life because they have this cannabis hanging over them. Uh, so I really, really am a strong believer in expunging all those records.
Thank you.
They,
Thank you for
they,
adding that.
they shouldn't pay the rest of their life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's such an important thing to have that piece of education, right? The
Right.
unbiased education to be able to make for them people to be able to make the best decisions for themselves.
Right. Right.
Right. All right, we will move on to question four. If cannabis were legalized, how would you prioritize the use of any tax revenue? Examples could include education, mental health services, law enforcement, infrastructure, other priorities, which I know you had talked about that before, but
Yeah. Well, the big talk right now is about the property tax. because many counties are seeing the real estate markets explode and the property taxes are getting so high that the people that have been here can't afford to pay their property taxes, especially like in my county and in my district. Many of the elderly people who are on fixed incomes are having to sell because they cannot afford to pay property tax. So some of the suggestions I've heard were, let's raise sales tax, let's those sort of things, but you're still taxing us.
Mhm.
So I say, if people want to use cannabis, which it's obvious that they do, from the sales of Montana and Colorado, the sales tax, then I think that we should take that sales tax and use it for the property tax money, and that'd pay for our fire, police, roads, those sort of things. And I also, it would include the school districts. They've been taking a pounding out there, the school districts have, and the legislature trying to take money from them, which I don't believe in. Uh, we have to educate our children at the highest level if we want good workers. So I would say those would be the places to go first. Now, they've also, this past legislative session, tried to take away money from seniors and Medicare, and seniors who are wanting to stay in their homes and have people come and help them with the things they can't do. Uh, and I think that we should consider, the disabled people who are trying to stay in their homes. We could pay for things like that, like the waiver program and such, which is through the state. And the Medicare, the Medicaid, sorry, we don't have that in Wyoming. And if you don't have health care, it's almost impossible to get help. And that would kind of be my next thing, would be helping the seniors stay in their homes if they're able to, and helping people to get medical care through the Medicaid system. And then I truly believe there'd be extra money left over. And then you're talking public land use, and I mean, there's a variety of things. We need to get businesses in here, get the business council straightened out so that they're actively bringing businesses to Wyoming. And we could maybe work on the business council and make sure that that's going the right direction and help maybe fund some of that too. So, I mean, there's just a ton of things. All you have to do is go out into the public and talk to people, and there's like 5,000 issues out there that we could probably solve, pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Oh,
So,
that's so true.
but I really do believe educating our children to keep them here, that we would have good workers, and for the businesses that do want to come in. And then we've got to take care of the people without health care. Many of our hospitals are suffering greatly because we don't have Medicaid, and they don't have a way to help the people that can't afford health insurance. So that would be a top priority for me.
Thank you. Thank you. You're so right. There's so many different various avenues that money could be put to good use.
Right,
In the communities in Wyoming, there's definitely some need to be able to help spread that wealth around if that were to come to pass. You
right,
probably just need to look at certain other states, such as like you're saying, Montana and Colorado, and just seeing how much they're bringing in for revenue with the taxes, and seeing what they're putting it towards and how their residents are benefiting.
right.
Hmm.
They, I've been told in Montana they have so much money, and I know in Colorado they have so much money, they just can't throw it out at different problems fast enough. So let's keep that money in our state. You go to
Yeah.
Montana, you go to Colorado to the dispensaries, and all you see is Wyoming plates. And I just think that's such a waste and foolish of us for a plant that's been used thousands of years, medicinally and recreationally, uh, and's never killed anybody. And it just takes 5 minutes on the internet, because we've got such access on the internet to figure it out if you just go and educate yourself on the subject. We also have Wyoming NORML, and we have the Wyoming NORML educational site that, that's a good place to start.
Mhm.
And there's just a ton of research out there that proves over and over again that it's very safe and it's very effective.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that again.
Sorry, it's the Wyoming NORML Foundation. I couldn't think of the word foundation.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you for sharing that because you're so right. And Wyoming Normal is active in the state and ready to spread the awareness and educate the residents and looking for other people to join in the cause too as well. So,
Right. Our
oh,
legislators just have not been willing to listen. They haven't been willing to educate themselves. And I think that's a tragedy for Wyoming.
thank you for sharing that. All right, Carrie, do you have anything else you'd like to add for that piece of the question, or would you like to move on?
Go ahead and let's move on, I guess.
All right. So the last question I have for you is, if elected, would cannabis policy reform be one of your legislative priorities? And if
Oh,
so, what
very,
specific reforms would you pursue?
very definitely. Wyoming is a police state as far as cannabis goes. And I just think that it's silly we're wasting resources with our police and our uh, highway patrol, all the police departments that we have chasing cannabis when we've got cocaine and meth and fentanyl pouring into the state in many directions. And where cannabis has been shown to be a helper in getting people free of those things, we need to concentrate on the man-made drugs so that we can maybe tamp that down a little. Uh, it definitely would be my priority. And I'm sorry to backtrack on you just a little bit.
Oh,
I
you're
think
okay.
that cannabis would be regulated through the state Department of Revenue to handle all the sales tax and stuff, and the regulating of the dispensaries is pretty much how they've been doing it. Maybe there might be some involvement through public health for the medical side, which I'm sorry, I totally missed that in the last question. But I'm a strong advocate for cannabis. I was told at one time, go out and educate yourself. That's how
Hmm.
I started becoming involved in this. I think well, you're an RN, I think anybody who's involved with cannabis and the medical side of it would also agree that it's probably one of the better things that you could use. Some of the things that have been brought up were children getting into your
Hmm.
cannabis, and oh my God, they're all gonna die, and that just is not the truth. From what I have found out from most of the ER people that I've talked to, they would just either send your child home to sleep it off, or put them in a back room and let them sleep it off because it puts them to sleep. If they were to get into it, they would just go to sleep and then wake up probably pretty hungry. Uh, and I'm not saying that I think it's good for the children because I wouldn't be an advocate for that. But we're talking about overdose and death, and it definitely would not kill them. And so I just am a very strong advocate there. And people, we're talking about responsible use. So you would responsibly keep your cannabis where your children could not get it. So that's part of the being responsible.
It's so true. And it's like you would keep it away, any other medication, right? Or any
Just,
other supplement
yep,
from children that you wouldn't want them having access to. So it's really no different. And
right,
to add to that, I can add for just a little bit, is it'd still be an age requirement for purchase, correct? It'd still be
right.
over 21 and over.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And
When you
so
go when you go into a dispensary like Colorado or Montana, the first thing you have to do is show ID or you cannot come in. they're very responsible in the way that they handle sales and very knowledgeable about the products they're selling. And I think, you know, as long as you're doing it right, then there won't be problems.
Thank you. Thank you for adding that. And there are actually studies that have been recently finalized and out regarding that too, that you can check out on Wyoming NORML and the NORML organization nationwide on their web pages as well. But there are so many medical benefits to it. It's not a catch-all, but there are definitely um, situations and symptoms and disease processes that it can definitely help out with, for sure.
Well, every mammal on the planet has an endocannabinoidal system in their body, mostly in the brain, but many in the stomach, mid-region. So when you ingest cannabis, it takes those cannabinoids, the receptors in your body does, and sends them to the places where it needs it most. So you could try to say that you don't have THC in your body, but you do naturally, every person, whether you use it or not.
All those cannabinoids right in the body.
That's
And
right.
you did say mostly in the brain, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Although, you know, you do have some in your stomach, that the torso region, most of them are found in the brain. So it does help quiet the brain, but it also, the brain tells it where to go, where you're hurt, what needs to be repaired in your body. It helps regulate your immune system. I truly believe that many of the diseases that we have now that are going on are there because we don't use cannabis like they used to. And we could probably avoid many problems if we did use it. It would, even when you breastfeed your child, they're getting those endocannabinoidal receptors passed along to them to help with their immune system. So why aren't we using what God gave us?
Mm.
It's a man-made plant, and there's no added chemicals. Uh, very natural, very good.
Right. And very healing for some, in
Right.
some situations, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just jumping back to the questions, and thank you for adding all of that as well, because it's really important that the listeners are educated and well-rounded on cannabis education and information. Um, but I was going to actually, if we can go back to question 5, is what cannabis policy, what would be the legislative priorities that you would have in place for that?
Well, just making sure that they have good policies in how they regulate it, how they conduct business when you go into these dispensaries, where you can use it. Um, you know, just making sure that just because you're a cannabis user, you're not being targeted by the police, because it does have such a stigma. And of course, uh, many of the police divisions are out. They're going to lose money, of course, because they have the confiscation rules. So they're not going to be happy about it if they were to legalize. So I'd like to see that people who are responsible users aren't getting targeted
Mm,
by using that. Um, just making sure we have good policy and looking at other states and seeing what works and what doesn't work and making sure we're being wise about it.
mhm.
And then that the money is being used wisely, not just thrown around because there's so much of it. That would
Yeah.
be the next priority. So I guess
Perfect.
it all boils back to responsible use and responsible regulation.
Right. Correct. And education for that to happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Correct. All right. Well, wraps up all the questions that I have for you today. Do you have anything else that you would like to add before our time is up?
Well, I'm all about cannabis and how it can affect and help people medically, but also that we should be able to choose not just our own medical path, but how we recreate if we're doing it responsibly. The money would more than cover property taxes and so many other things that we could use it for. And when we have those busts and booms in the mineral industry, we wouldn't have such a hard time. We could just kind of lean back on that money. Also, the tourism. We got a lot of tourists coming into our state. Tourism is a big industry in Wyoming because of Yellowstone and all of the beauty here. But tourists are being arrested as well for having legal cannabis from their state. So we need to make sure that we welcome the tourists as long as they're being responsible and allow them to bring their medicine and to recreate in a responsible way. Because many people are not coming to our state because the laws are so stringent here on their medicine. We have no reciprocity for them. They go straight to jail. And we just shouldn't be punishing the people who want to just come and visit our state for a short time. So that'd be another big deal right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important that people will be able to continue to have their medicine and enjoy the state and enjoy um, their time off and enjoy the
Right.
beauty of Wyoming and still be able to do so with some quality of life, right? And enjoy
Yeah,
it.
and we're losing a lot of our young people because they want to use, they want to use cannabis, but this state is so harsh on them if they get caught that our young people are moving to states that is legal or medically legal so that they don't have to worry about going to jail.
Mm.
Uh, we just, in Powell, Wyoming, they just arrested a 64-year-old woman for use, and she spent 4 days in jail and will have to answer to the judge for that. And I just think it's wrong that she would be persecuted when she was sitting in her own house trying to use her cannabis as. So we
Yeah.
have a lot of issues regarding cannabis, but we also have a lot of issues with property taxes and busts and booms, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've pointed out very well how, oh, we lost you, can't Carrie?
Uh-oh.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. I can hear you. Oh, I lost her, I think, again. Wait and see if she just hops back on. Carrie mentioned some very, very good points about, oh, maybe there she is again. Oh, about the benefits that Wyoming residents in Wyoming, the state, could have if they did adopt the cannabis as medicine and adopt it as the rest of the nation has for the most part, and seeing how it would benefit the well-being of the residents in Wyoming and also the state in general.
Sorry about that. Someone was calling my phone and it totally knocked me out of there.
It's okay. It's okay. We have just a couple minutes left. I didn't know if there was
Sure.
anything else that you wanted to add.
Well, I was at a candidate forum, and when I said all these things about property taxes and cannabis, some people's jaws dropped to the floor. And I just believe that it's time to do away with the stigma. Whether you believe in cannabis or not, whether you use it or not, because many of our followers don't use it, at least educate yourself on that subject and know that how much it could help not just medical patients, but also it could help the state of Wyoming.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think it could help solve many of the problems that we're facing right now. So it would be a high priority for me.
Agreed, and thank you. Thank you for adding that, Carrie. Well, that's all the time that we have today. I'm grateful for your engagement and your thoughtful responses during today's interview. And we wish you good luck. And thank you so much for joining us again and for all the work that you put forth at the organization.
Thanks for having me. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Bye now.